Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Natalie. This is Scientology Life After a Cult. I don't know why I like saying that so dramatically, but I do. Welcome, welcome. Today we're going to get into some serious Scientology culty stuff, including Scientology's at your door, y'all. We got some video to show it. They are being handed their butts in the media, and we are all here for it. Being called out on what their photo ops during the California fires, going into relief centers, taking items for their own use at their own where they're encouraging people to come and get donations. It's a whole mess. And we're going to go over all of it. But first, we got to really talk about something here. What is the temperature where you are? Because I am freezing. It is -7 here in Minnesota. Put it in a live chat. What is the temp where you are? If it's warm, I want to hear about it because I need to soak some warm. And my menopause is not cooperating with me today. I'm cold. I'm wearing a vest. Yet all of my extremities are sweating. It's just such a dang joy. But I cannot get over it. It just suddenly we hit boom, cold here in Minnesota. -6, -7. That is not even with the wind chill. Okay, Kayla says it's 35 in Texas. Sarasota Jerry, 65. Oh my God, I'm jealous. Nancy Couch, 33 in Vegas. I'm jealous of that. 13 in St. Louis. Cody, that's like outright balmy. Nutmeg, 34 in New York. Wow, 17 in Wichita. That's actually kind of cold. Jim, did you say 8 degrees? Oh my gosh. Houston, I've been worried about you guys. 31 there, bad winds. I saw y'all, was it Dallas that had snow? We didn't have any snow falling in Minnesota, but it was snowing in Dallas. Anyways, keep it coming because I'm like, I don't know. You think all this time I've lived in Minnesota, I've gotten used to the weather, but I'm struggling today, probably on account of the what are they called? Cold sweats. Oh, I swear. Hey, Kathy Scogans. Oh, 44 where you are. That's beautiful. I want to get outside, but when it's this cold, it's like impossible. It's impossible. Keep it coming. I feel like I'm not so alone, although I didn't see anybody yet talk about the minus temps here. Let me see. Mid 30s in New York, Abigail. That is awesome. All right, keep it coming, you guys. Let's jump into our some little bit of culty news here. And it is Frell Cheryl on the loose. She dropped the most hilarious short. If you're not following Frell Cheryl, check her out here on YouTube. She's also on TikTok. And she does the most hilarious little shorts. And she's got this amazing Xenu hat that you're going to see. But she jumped in because I don't know if you guys knew this, but she is the estranged wife of Xenu. Xena, I think she goes by, but she had some stuff to say about the recent drone sighting. She has a theory about it. And, just got to share it to you guys. Got to share it with you. Check this out.
Those drones, you've got it all wrong. I'll tell you about those drones. So last week, I get a text from my friend Angela. She works for the corrections department for the 5th Invader Force. And she goes, quick, turn the TV on.
The corrections department for the 5th Invader Force. And many of you guys know 5th Invader Force, like L. Ron Hubbard talks about that. Like it is a thing. It is a thing in Scientology. I don't even think it's confidential. I think he talks about it in some regular tapes and lectures.
So I run over, turn the telly on. What do I see? My stupid ex-husband, Xenu, and his buddies who have escaped from their electronic prison flying around in their Gertz 420s. I can tell he's been drinking. Causing chaos over there in New Jersey. Great. Now he's out. I suppose he's going to want the Supreme Ruler back, but I'm not giving it back to him. He won't show his face around here, not in Florida. Still owes me child support.
Oh my God, it's so funny. He won't show his face in Florida because he still owes her child support. It's so funny. That's right. I love the Supreme Ruler with the Supreme thing on it. Oh my gosh, I got to show that to Tony's boys. They would think that part specifically is hilarious. Noelle, thank you so much for the compliment on my hair. I did not get it colored. It's just flipped in a way that you can't see a lot of the gray. I just like flip it different ways. But thank you so much for your kind words. But I'm still holding out. I did not get it colored. We're still growing out. We are growing it out so far. I reserve the right to color my hair at any time and change my mind. But for now, this is where we're at. Oh, Frell Cheryl, you're so funny. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now let's go look at something on X. On X, we've talked about this before. There are these community notes that can be added to posts that people make. And as you guys know, Scientology is very active there and always like sharing their stuff, right? Are you curious? Come join us. Look what our volunteer ministers are doing. Well, people are continuing to add these community notes, and I'm loving it. Look at this one. I found this one the other day. So this is a post from Scientology, right? Where it's not what you believe, it's what you stand for. We stand for compassion, for tolerance, for truth, for humanity, and we stand with you. Okay, first off, Scientology, I don't know who you think you're kidding with the compassion part and the tolerance, okay? I'll like halfway give you truth because it's your truth that you believe to be true. Therefore, you believe what you are putting forth as truth is truth. But you're not going to get me on compassion and tolerance. It's just, no, it's just not a thing. Not a thing. Look at the bottom, though. Readers added context. Scientology is a cult. You guys see that on there? And then it sends to Wikipedia for information about Scientology. Here, I mean, right here, right? They're showing their volunteer ministers. Our help is yours. We believe in compassion. Meanwhile, everybody on X is like, Scientology is a cult. I love this. I really do. I'm loving these community notes, at least in this context. So, and it seems like people, if you see a community note on X, I do believe, because I remember I clicked on it, and you can click if this was helpful. Did it provide good information? Of course, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Accurate, accurate, accurate. Scientology is a cult. Oh, I cannot get enough of that. I truly can't. I love it so much. Okay, so now enough about that. I'm always like, I've been on Twitter, X, excuse me, but I've never been super active on it. It's just one more thing to manage as far as I'm concerned, but I've been trying to use it more, especially seeing what's happening with Scientology. I've been really enjoying it. I do. All right, now let's look at another post. Okay, I got to give you a little bit of backstory though. So online, there is this theory about, what are they called? Direct energy weapons, I think, firing down and causing fires. This is a theory online, the Maui fires and even the LA fires, right? So it's being said online that these direct energy weapons, and my apologies if I get any of the terminology wrong. This is a theory that's new to me and I don't know a lot about it, but here is my interest in it. That these direct energy weapons cannot work if your roof is blue. And so Scientology is getting called out all over the place as being part of this because their roofs are blue. Look at this. Let's just look at one of these things here on X. This is from the White Rabbit podcast. Notice anything about this Church of Scientology village in California. The roofs are all blue. Now, I did see, gosh, was it this one? You know what? Let me see where this is going to take us here. I did see a comment. I thought there was a comment on here. Oh, you know what? It's probably somewhere. But anyways, point being, because of the blue roofs, people who support this theory and are talking about are really calling Scientology out about it, that maybe they're involved or they know something about it. And some would probably call that a conspiracy theory. I don't know. I just know I'm here for anything that Scientology gets called out for. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around the idea and what it's about, because I enjoy hearing about different theories or what is known as conspiracy theories. I'm not married to any of them, right? I think they're interesting and I love learning about it because it blows my mind. And that Scientology is being pulled into this one just makes your girl happy. I mean, what a way to kick off a Monday. It is Monday. Yep, it's Monday. Oh, it was so great. Okay, now we got to look at this. You guys, there has been article after article coming out, calling out Scientology on their response during these horrific California fires. We've been talking about it almost each day, but it's coming out even more. Look at this. This is an article exclusive. Killer LA wildfires send calls to Scientology and end of days style cult soaring. Everyone thinks the world is ending. So this particular one is a little bit different. This one didn't focus on Scientology going around and taking items and photo ops. We're going to get into that. But this one brought up an interesting tidbit here that I didn't realize was happening. And I thought, ooh, tell me more. Says Los Angeles killer wildfires have caused a stampede of calls to crackpot organizations like the Church of Scientology and end of days cults. So I thought first it's a little interesting that end of days cults are kind of getting a bump here. And I guess why? Because you look at what's happening in California with the wildfires and the devastation, and it is truly apocalyptic. So I get where they're going with this. Number one, I love that they're calling Scientology a crackpot organization and positioning Scientology with end of days cults. Preachers from Scientology have even been seen out of the streets of fire ravaged areas recruiting new members as the flames continue to consume huge swaths of LA. RadarOnline.com can reveal. A video shot in Pasadena shows it says orange, but we all know it's more of a yellow, T-shirt clad members stopping people and asking about their religious beliefs. A caption read, Scientology recruiting during wildfires is crazy. Because again, seriously, like you're going to stop people in the middle of a disaster and be like, can we talk about your religious beliefs? Have you heard of Scientology? We'd like you to come in for a personality test. I got to really work the Xenu wise more. Let me do that again. Would you like to hear more about Scientology? They're never going to ask, though. They don't ask. They just tell you, come with me and do this personality test. All right. So let's get back to this. One church elder told us, we have seen a huge increase in calls and emails since the fires took hold. People are looking for answers. They think the world is ending and they are fearful. Some have mentioned they have contacted other organizations whose beliefs are that the end of the world is coming. We live in troubled times. Among Scientology's basic tenets are the belief that human beings are immortal, that a person's life experience transcends a single lifetime, and that human beings possess infinite capabilities. The group, which counts Tom Cruise amongst its members, has also been on social media offering help to fire victims. A post on Facebook said, wildfire relief support available at the Church of Scientology. We're here for anyone and everyone affected by the wildfires currently impacting areas such as Pacific Palisades, Pasadena, Altadena, La Crescenta, Montrose, and beyond. The Scientology volunteer ministers have set up headquarters at the Church of Scientology of Los Angeles to provide a safe place for you and your family. But one prominent member of the church who lost part of his multi-million-dollar home in Malibu does not believe the end of the world is imminent. He blames local politicians. Okay, I think they're talking about, I'm speculating, Grant Cardone, because he's a prominent member. He does have a house in Malibu that burned. And I could see him saying that, no, it's not the end of the world. But isn't that interesting? What do you guys think about that? I didn't think about it in terms of other cults. Are they getting a boost? Because it seems like it's end times, end of the world with what's happening, not just in California, but other places as well. Did not see that one coming. But, I'm so here for Scientology being totally called out for this. A Time to Change says, I would sleep on the beach with the fleas first. Okay, first off, are there fleas on the beach? Is this a California thing? I don't think there's fleas on the beach in Hawaii. I've never heard of that. Now I need to know. That's right, Marcy. Grant Cardone. Ugh. Totally. Completely. Yep, that's true, Sammy 420. I think he has enough to rebuild. I think so too. Oh, there are sand fleas. Like, oh, I'm gonna have to go down that rabbit hole later. I did not know that. Oh, I'm disturbed. Sand fleas. Sand fleas. How have I not heard of this? I'm pretty sure there's nothing like that in Hawaii. Anyways, interesting. I'm going to have to look more into that and get further grossed out. Let's take a look now at, because you might be wondering, well, Natalie, what does Scientology themselves say about this? What are they saying that they are doing? What would they like the world to believe? Oh my God, sand fleas are everywhere. Oh, stop, you guys. But only in sand, right? I'm telling you, I've never heard of sand fleas in Hawaii. Maybe there's another word for it. We do have like these little, sand crabs, but they're not fleas. All right, you guys, making me nauseous. Oh, also called no-see-ums. Okay. Now let's look at this. This is a press release, so gird your loins. Okay. This is from Scientology. Protect yourself. Put up your energy barriers. Scientology volunteer ministers provide critical relief to LA fire victims. All right. So let's see here. We are going to take a look at this, but we got to make it a little fun. What would fit here? Let's see. Maybe more newsy. There we go. It's newsy. Can you guys hear? Here we go. Let's read this. As devastating fires continue to ravage greater Los Angeles, the volunteer ministers of Scientology churches and missions across LA County are providing critical support for those affected. This is my best attempt to do the Scientology voiceover voice, which they use at their events, which is usually, Pomerantz. From offering essential supplies to emotional support, the volunteer ministers are stepping up to assist individuals and families in their time of need. From their headquarters at their bright yellow tent at the Church of Scientology on Sunset Boulevard, blah, 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 blah. Donations of essential supplies, such as water, non-perishable food, blankets, bedding, and hygiene items are urgently needed because we can't take them fast enough from other locations. Okay, it doesn't say that, but you guys know what's up, okay? 24-hour, 24/7 hotline is also available, and they give a phone number to call for resources and assistance. So listen to this stuff. Here's where it gets kind of interesting to me, too. So they're talking about volunteer minister shares a firsthand account. Now, Alberto, trained as a Scientology volunteer minister, completed like these 19 online courses. He hit the ground running as soon as the fires began and shares his perspective about being a volunteer in times like these. So he just talks about his experience of seeing people in pain, crying, heartbreak, why it's important to help them. What being a volunteer minister means to him. Being a volunteer minister has taught me not to simply say, I'm sorry for what you're going through, but rather count on me. For me, being a volunteer minister isn't a job. It's responding to a calling in life. Then it tells you like how to help. So this is what Scientology is putting out. This is their press release. Look at this, you guys. Can you see this picture? The caption says, volunteer ministers confront the unprecedented damage. So they're confronting the unprecedented damage. What's funny about this to me is the Scientology's use of we're confronting it. You're standing in front of a burned out car for a photo op. That's not confronting. Scientology, we better wake up, Osa. We better. And it's Monday. So you guys know what that means. We get to be loud. David Miscavige, please wake up. Look, they're holding hands again. Oh, I love that. Ooh. Wake up your people at the Office of Special Affairs. Osa, it is Monday, and it is glorious. It is absolutely glorious. So this image right here of them confronting, what are you really confronting? They're just looking, tell me your guys' thoughts. Tell me what you think about this. If you're catching this on the replay, hit that like and subscribe, but also get into the comments and tell me what you think. I can't believe that of all the photos they could have used too, here they are just look. Are they doing a Scientology process Look at that car. Thank you. Touch that burned out car. Thank you. Walk over to the donation center. Thank you. Take all the supplies you can. Thank you. Put them in our van. Thank you. Head over to Scientology. Thank you. Take credit for handing all this stuff out. I don't know. It looks like it. It's just weird. It's weird looking to me. It is. That's right, Jean Marie. That's outrageous. It is. It's just strange. Jennifer Arnold, why don't they just use their OT powers to put out the fires? Right? Yeah, exactly. Well, they blame the suppressive people when a disaster does happen for Scientology. It is because of the suppressive people and the psychiatrists, which to them are one and the same. But if something goes well, they use their operating Thetan abilities to move the storm, to put out the fire. Scientology and all you operating Thetans, once y'all go conjure up some rain, like that would actually be helpful. When you're done confronting a burned out car, maybe you could do something like that. Anna, I wonder what that car did to pull that in. Yeah, exactly. Monica Unknown, they are confronting and shattering that car. The rusty glider, touch assist. That's right. They're giving a touch assist to the car. Feel my finger. Thank you. Lady Victoria, are they trying to will it back to being a car? I don't know. They could be. It's just strange and weird. It is. And it just seems like such a weird thing to actually share. It really is. Steph, 22 years sober. That makes me so sick, especially since now my son doesn't have a home after the fires. The whole thing is very odd, and he works for the Department of Water and Power in LA. Ah, so sorry, Steph. Yeah, meanwhile, Scientology is running around confronting burnt out cars. Yeah, it is. It's incredibly weird. All right, now let's look at something else here. There's another story out calling out Scientology about this stuff. There's so much of this. Scientologists accused of invading LA relief centers for staged photo ops and leaving with food supplies meant for wildfire victims. Tone deaf clout grab. I think that says it right there. It is a tone deaf clout grab. Scientology is completely making a tone deaf clout grab with what they're doing with the California fires by going to other people who are handing out and collecting donations, taking them over to their own place to then take credit for handing them out. It's crazy. But it's one of these things where I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised. Okay, I can't say church anymore, too. We got to switch it here. So this article does say church. I'm going to say cult. I can't take it. The cult of Scientology has been exploiting the raging fires torching Los Angeles for photo ops, recent social media post claims. Several posts, including one shared on Reddit Friday, have accused Scientologists of invading relief centers in Pasadena, Santa Anita, and Pan Pacific Park in Los Angeles, leaving with food and other donated goods intended for fire victims and repurposing them. Investigative journalist Tony Ortega reported members of the church, cult, accompanied by professional camera crews, were photographed in their highly visible yellow volunteer minister windbreakers this week at various donation sites established across LA. We also talked about, you guys, how we've seen Scientology, anytime they see a camera, they're like right there in the background, like with the jackets and the yellow shirts, just trying to get into the frame, getting into the shot, walking by, suddenly showing up in the back and moving the same box. It's absolutely bizarre. And here's some photos of them in action. The volunteer ministers have allegedly been leaving with food and other supplies. So this photo is from the Facebook page of the Cult of Scientology. This is the thing. I didn't pull that up. They are literally photographing and video recording their own looting of these places and taking these things. They are actually recording it themselves. It's amazing with their camera crews. Numerous online posters are claiming that Scientology volunteer ministers are picking up supplies at staging areas like the Santa Anita racetrack and taking them away in order to set up their photo ops elsewhere. Ortega reported. Scientology has historically dispatched the volunteer ministers to different disaster areas where they set up bogus relief efforts, and all for the cameras, according to Ortega, who's been covering the highly controversial cult for 2 decades. This says it all. Here's a Scientology volunteer minister doing the recording, taking the videos, taking all the photos for their own photo ops. Kristen Frost says, I love that light yellow shirt. I love the light yellow shirt. Shows how much they aren't getting their hands dirty. Girl, you are so right. You hit the nail on the head there. You really did. Asen, interesting that they have exactly the same goldenrod color that Lara has in her merch. It's a popular color in Scientology. It really is. It really is. Oh my goodness. Yeah, nice camera, right? Nice camera. What a horrible thing to do. They can steal from other relief sites and claim it as the donated items. Yeah, exactly. Antics of a mama squirrel. Never about helping, always about the optics. It really is. Bushman buckets, yellow, specifically goldenrod. That is indeed a suppressed person color. It's the paper that Scientology puts their, like a lot of their ethics things on, like a suppressive person declare. But they also use it in their volunteer ministers because it's such a bright color and they blend in. Because when you go to a disaster area, you see a lot of yellow jackets of legitimate firefighters, other organizations wearing them. So it's all about blending in with legitimate people helping, but it's all covered with their volunteer minister information and stuff on there. That's right, Sandy. Hijacking. Good. All a facade, just like their front groups. Exactly. Completely. Time to change. It's an emergency color. That makes sense. It's all about clout for them. It is all about that clout. But don't you love it? Here's the picture right there with the camera. Their footage. The footage is then later used in promotional videos, Ortega reported. F them and their tone-deaf clout grab, wrote one person on social media. They don't give a blank about anyone but themselves, another commented. Taking supplies and distributing them elsewhere seems to be outright theft to me, noted another critic. Does anyone know if those repurposed supplies were actually given out? What a fantastic question. The cult has apparently set up its own relief center, promising water, non-perishable food, and hygiene products for those impacted. The cult did not respond to requests for comments. No, they did not. They did not. I just cannot believe it. They're just, leave it to Scientology. How, it's like they have a meeting, right? Do they get together at international management with David Miscavige and whoever he has not locked away that might be still working for him and go, they call on the Office of Special Affairs. They all get together and go, okay, here's what we need to do with these wildfires. Let's get the volunteer ministers out to take things and video them taking things to give out at our own orgs. That was the good plan. Let's do it. Yep. Piled hands on top of each other, went break, Xenu, woo, and then went out to do it. Because they do coordinate these things. How do they not know? How do they not at some point go, I don't know, maybe that's not a good look? Because they have to do what L. Ron Hubbard said. And L. Ron Hubbard said to do this. Get the photo op, the positioning. It's all about the public relations. All about that. Asen says, acting as if they are better than everyone else while being totally without any conscience. Hypocrisy in full force. I agree. Yep. Von Fino, scamtology. That's a great way of putting it there. All right, let's see here. Look, I'm going to show you guys something. There is a video that has hit the internets, and I'm sure there will be more. If you have a video on your Ring camera of Scientology coming to your door in the California area, please feel free to send it to me, Natalie at lifeafteraccult.com, which is where you can send anything culty related. So please do. But you guys got to see this, because caught on the Ring camera were a couple of Scientologists and their volunteer ministers gear going door to door saying that they're just bringing supplies. They're just bringing supplies. Really? Are those the supplies you took? Anyways, let's look at this video and then we're going to talk about it. We will talk about it. Watch this. Here they come. Here they come.
Hello, sir.
Oh,
Good.
I am not interested in Scientology.
Okay,
Are you seriously in Scientology?
Yeah,
Holy shit.
we're delivering supplies to people who need anything. Do you need anything?
No, thanks.
Okay. All right.
It's a cult.
Understood.
I mean, yeah, it's a cult. So
You have a good day, sir.
you do the same.
Dude knows what was up. What was up? And you know this has to be happening. This is interesting on a couple levels, because the Scientologists themselves who volunteer, who believe that they're truly helping and that Scientology is expanding and there are millions of members, Scientologists who volunteer to do this, and a lot of them, they honestly do want to help. There are a lot of Scientologists that get into Scientology because they do believe that this is actually doing good works. They don't know or fully understand that it's not. But you go door to door like that and you get told you're in a cult. I mean, who needs to protest at that point? Just let them all go door to door. I predict Scientology will put the kibosh on that. Once word gets back to Scientology of what's being said to volunteer ministers going door to door, they're probably not going to let them do it anymore because they don't want them to hear that. Think about it. They keep their people off the internet. They can go on the internet, not Sea Org members, but you can't read anything that's against Scientology. You can't watch anything that exposes or against Scientology. But let's go out and go door to door and then have people tell us in person that you're in a cult. How do they stop that? They're not going to be able to stop that. So I think that's interesting. And part of me hopes they keep doing it so that these individual Scientologists can see this is what people really think about Scientology. If there were millions of members, if Tom Cruise was doing his job and promoting Scientology and doing it so well, why every door you go to, you're going to pretty much hear that you're in a cult, or people going to they're not going to want your help. And I hope that it helps them leave. I do. It would make me kind of think twice. It really would. It would. About the whole being in Scientology. Let's see here. I'm catching up on your questions. Amber says back in the day, the PAC cadets, so these are the cadets, the Sea Org children when the cadet org used to exist in Scientology, would be the ones picking up the garbage or supposedly helping with charity events, and we would be the ones in the pictures. Yeah, because they're gonna use kids like that. Me and Taz, I arrived late. How's your tattoo this morning? It's a little sore, but it's good. Here, I'll show you guys. I got a tattoo yesterday. It was my memorial tattoo I wanted to do in memory of my Tony and other people that I've lost in my family. And here, let me see if I can show it to you. It says a hui ho, which is Hawaiian for until we meet again. So I got live aloha on one arm on the inside and until we meet again in Hawaiian on the other one. It's fine. I've been keeping, putting the stuff on it. I just did it yesterday. But yeah, I think it's doing fine. Thank you so much for asking. I did live stream my tattoo yesterday, so you can go on my channel and find it. And what I found most interesting about that is Brandon, the person doing the tattoo, is Hawaiian from Kona. He travels around doing Polynesian tattoos for people. And he just shared the most beautiful things about Hawaii, about what it's like for him raising a family in Wyoming now. And, being Polynesian, I thought the conversation was fantastic. So if you get a chance, please check out that video, especially if you're interested in learning anything about the Hawaiian culture or Polynesia. He shared a lot of great info. So do check it out. Hey, MD Media, aloha to you. Thank you, Monica. I'm glad you like it. I really like it. And I like it because, it's something that I have to show somebody for them to see it. And when I'm, I can see it. I do. I really love it. I'm glad that I took the time to think about it. I was going to do this. I think a month or so after Tony passed, and I was going to put the coordinates of where we scattered his ashes. And I wanted to sit with that for a while. When it comes to like big decisions like a tattoo, things that are permanent or big decisions in life, I really try. Since leaving Scientology, I've learned how to do this. This is not a Scientology thing. I had to learn after leaving Scientology to just take a minute, take a step back, look at it from different angles, get information, think with it, be with it, and then make a decision for a permanent tattoo or really anything major in life. And I try to do that. And since I've learned how to do that after leaving this cult, I find it super helpful. And I'm glad that I went with this one because for me, it's more representative of more of my family in addition to my Tony, who was, really close with my dad. But thank you. Thank you so much for that and asking. Yeah, Frida, you're going to love the tattoo video. You got to love it. I want to go back and listen to it again because the stuff he talked about, I thought was really enlightening. All right, let's look at another article. Let's look at another article of Scientology getting their butts handed to them. Let's do that. Oh, yes. Thank you, MD Media. That video was sent to MD Media courtesy of SP Panda. So thank you so much, SP Panda, for grabbing that video. That was the one we just shared, and that is on MD Media's channel, but credit goes to SP Panda for that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's see. Nancy, I don't know which ones you're talking about because I grabbed the ones that I could use there. Maybe unstar the ones you're talking about. I don't think she has a channel. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing that though, MD Media. That was really amazing. Gosh, it's still just blowing my mind. Okay, let's now look at another article calling out Scientology on what they are doing. Scientologists accused of invading LA relief centers. Invading. 4-stage photo ops and leaving with food supplies meant for wildfire victims. Tone deaf clout grab. Once again, this tone deaf clout grab is being repeated, and I am here for it. And here they are with their pictures. We saw this one the other day of some videoing in the act doing this. I won't read the whole thing because it's pretty much just like the other one in terms of what they're doing and being called out on. But I am going to link this down below along with all of the articles and links that we're talking about here today so that you can go ahead and check them out for yourself because they are absolutely worth looking at and checking out. And keep them coming, you guys. Keep sending them to me, Natalie@lifeafteraccult.com. I really appreciate it. Squirrel SPTV. Why not help people who really need it? They would be way better. That would be way better for publicity. I agree. And they do some of that. There are volunteer ministers that really believe and want to actually help. And you will see some of them actually at a place working and helping. But in my opinion, based off of my observation, based off of my experience in Scientology, the majority of them are being directed to just get these videos, to position themselves in ways to be on the news, to be in the background, to give their comments on what's happening. Kristen Frost. Yep. No way. They regifted supplies. Gross. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Don Gloves. Yeah, I'm telling you. So I'm going to link that down below. Let's take a look too. I'm going to show you. So, because you might be wondering like, well, what is Scientology doing with all these photos, right? These videos, where are they putting them out? Oh, they're putting them out around places. Look at this. Again, this is Scientology's X page. So gird your loins, protect yourself. We're going to a Scientology site. Something can be done about it. So this is Scientology's Volunteer Minister International, Dooley Dad here on the X. And here's where a lot of those photos are coming up. So here's what Scientology is saying. This is one that they have pinned. Last night, Scientology volunteer ministers went to the front lines and delivered much needed supplies to firefighters battling the blazes of the LA fires, still burning. Palisades, Eatonhurst, Lydia and Kenneth fires, the Sunset, well, blah, 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 blah. But you see the photos there. They're saying that over 1,100 Scientology volunteer ministers launched out in 118 teams from the Cult of Scientology Los Angeles on Sunday to bring aid to those affected by the fires, providing food, clothing, debris cleanup, and emotional relief. And emotional relief. That's really the one that we need to be worried about. That's the one we need to be worried about. Emotional relief. Really? What does that mean? What does that mean? And then, it goes on. They're sharing their how to resolve conflict because, why would you not share that during a fire? And just pictures after pictures, sharing how emergency resources are available. Oh, this is interesting. They're saying they're giving a shout out. This was 16 hours ago to a Presbyterian church for providing supplies for anyone in need. I wonder if that's a place where they went and actually got some of their supplies and then they feel like they got to cover their tracks a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. Are we believing this? You guys tell me. Tell me. Put a 1 in the chat if you think 1,100 volunteer ministers in 118 teams is a lie. A 2 in the chat if you think it's probably possible for 1,100 volunteer ministers coming together on the streets. 1 if it's a lie, 2 if it's the truth. Because look at this. There they are. I'm sure they met up. Again, it's all about the photo ops. Okay, Don Glove is like, girl, that's a 1. Eat more pizza. Squirrel SPTV, Stasia all saying 1 so far. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. I'm not buying it because 1,100 people, they can't get 1,100 people to an event sometimes. So there's 1,100 people for the volunteer ministers, 118 teams. You know what they're probably doing? I'm speculating. I don't know this is fact. This is just me talking crap right now. Gather around. Are they counting the other volunteers? Like when they go into a place and they're like, ooh, give me your supplies. I must take your supplies so we can hand them out at our own place. So say there's 4 volunteers there. Are they counting them, the volunteers at legitimate organizations? Are they being counted as volunteer ministers? Because they're like, oh, well, I mean, they supplied us with supplies. Therefore, they're helping the volunteer ministers. Yeah, Anna's like 118 teams. I don't think so. Putting a 1 in the chat for that. Okay, cool. Thank you. Stasia says, do you have trouble communicating? Would you like a free personality test? It's free. It's free. You know what it also is? Flammable. So be handing those out. Very helpful. Like your Way to Happiness books. Nothing. I mean, people, I'm sure, while they're going through devastation, loss, people are missing, people have lost their lives, but let's hand out a moral guide here from the Way to Happiness. A Time to Change. They handed out t-shirts to people to make it look good. They probably hand out volunteer ministers shirts or Scientology Way to Happiness shirts. Can you imagine that? Yeah, a lot of you are calling out the 118 teams. You're like, no way. 118 teams of 1 person per team. Yeah, I think so too, Anna. I think so too. Jennifer Arnold, exactly. They're probably using new math to get those numbers. Oh, it's Scientology math. 5 people just walked by the org. Oh, add it to our number of millions of Scientologists because they looked in the building. I saw it. They looked. It counts. Add them to it. S. Gotcher, could they be conscripting Sea Org members and sticking them in yellow t-shirts? 100%. Completely they would. There's precedent where even pulling people off of course in Scientology. When I was a teenager in Hawaii as a staff member and I went for training in Los Angeles when I was 15, 16, we were pulled out of the course room to go protest for Scientology at the courthouse above a court case. I don't know. I've heard of another time that being done, but it was done. They will use as many bodies as they can get. I can completely see them sending out Sea Org members to do something like that for a photo op. It's probably Sea Org members who are working the cameras because those bigger professional looking cameras is probably Scientology Media Productions. And then they just put on volunteer minister shirts. But it's the people you would normally see wearing black going around for Scientology Media Productions. Powerless to paralyze. They will use this disaster to human traffic non-Scientologists from other countries. Exactly. That's why I'm so glad that there are so many eyes. And I would appreciate if you guys would reshare this on whatever social media platform you are on, because word needs to be gotten out even more that Scientology is doing this and that people need to keep an eye out for it and call it out, because it's not okay to exploit a disaster this way. The math ain't mathin'. It is not, Rona. You were totally right. Don Glove says, I doubt they got 100 people together. Exactly. They probably photoshopped that photo. I don't know that. I'm speculating. This is just me talking crap. But based on previous experiences and what people have said, I think it can be. Buckled Up Buttercup, they probably are counting members of the Presbyterian Church. Because the math doesn't math. It just does not. Oh, Jolie, interesting. Since this is a federal disaster area, any crimes involving in stealing donations becomes federal crimes. Did not know that. Interesting. Very interesting. Samantha, what do you do if you suspect your family is Scientologists? You could probably ask them if your family, they will likely tell you, because it'd be weird if they are Scientologists to deny it to you. But if you want to talk about that more, feel free to email me too, Natalie@lifeafteroccult.com. And if there's anything that I know that might be able to help you, by all means, go ahead and reach out. Steph, how repulsive. Scientology comes to save their own day. Exactly. Nisa says, looks like the invasion of the body snatchers, right? Ooh. Oh my God, that still scares me, even when I do it. Even when I do it. Susan, thank you for the reminder. Hit that like button, y'all. Hit that like button. Yeah, they could have picked neon green. I don't know. I think it's because it is an emergency color. It's very bright. It shows up well on television. That's what they were thinking. They're not going to send people out wearing black. Just kind of blends in with the background. Green might blend in with the background too much. No. What's the brightest color we can wear and put on our vans and, wear all of our gear? It's that bright yellow. And it's also used by legitimate people who are actually helping. So that's what they're trying to do there. Let's see. And I'm still seeing your ones on there. Keep them coming. That makes sense. Oh, and thank you, Carla's loving wife. There are no sand fleas in Minnesota today. No, I would like to mark myself safe from the sand fleas because it is -7 here in Minnesota. I swear to God, I could go in my garage and key my own. I shouldn't say that. It's a morning show. Okay, you can guess. Key my own car with, because it's frozen. You get it? Tell me if you get it in the chat. Probably shouldn't make that joke on my morning show, but here we are because I'm freezing. Okay, let's see here. All right, now let's take a look. We did that. We looked at that Scientology thing there. Scientology Audit Streets LA has been very active on social media, sharing about a lot of this. And he shared a message that he got from somebody. Scientology Audit Streets LA, William Good. Check this out. He says, Cult of Scientology asked for fire volunteers and tried converting the volunteers. So Scientology asked, hey, we need fire volunteers. And here's what happened. This is somebody who had this experience and was there. Says, bro, I was looking for volunteer opportunities yesterday. I normally volunteer with the Red Cross. And I came across Scientology. I didn't know WTF. That was honestly, didn't know what that was. And they tried to lure me into their cult. I was at the Santa Anita racetrack at night and wasn't helping any of them. I was more with my fellow Mexicans handing out cases of water. After returning to the church, in quotes, they kept trying to get me to fill out a personality test. Luckily, it was getting late and I had to drive back to the San Diego area. Those people are weird. Report after report after report of Scientology trying to do this, to turn this into a recruitment opportunity. Good point, Mama Opal. The yellow is like caution tape. Exactly. Oh, and thank you for the reminder. 1 p.m. today, I'm sitting down and interviewing Gary Jackson Moorhead. We did a video about the fires last week. Gary Jackson Moorhead, if you're not familiar with his story, he's a former Sea Org member. He was the head of security at Scientology's international base. So he's got all the tea and he's going to tell all. We're doing that at 1 p.m. Central today, right here. If you can't catch it live, please do catch it on the replay. Thank you so much for that reminder. Let's see. All right, so now let's jump over to, I think, God, was this in Glendale? This was the Glendale Galleria. Somebody caught Scientology out there trying to recruit, and one woman, one camera shut them down. Shut down their recruitment. Nancy Alley, don't you dare talk about snow fleas. There's no such thing. You're just trying to scare me. So let's look at this. Let's look at this, you guys. Check this out here. Let's see. This is at the Glendale Galleria area. Looks like is that a McDonald's? I'm not sure. Watch this. So there they are. They got set up. They're out there trying to sell their books, their Dianetics and Scientology books, getting it all set up. They're also videotaping the person who's doing the videos, because, that's how Scientology goes. And they're getting all set up, but she's just there sharing. They take pictures of her. And not long after, they start to take it down. They start to then pack it up. And she was there for the whole thing there. I'm going to link this down below so you can go and see the whole thing. But they're just packing it all up there. She's just there the whole time. They took her photo. They tried to video her. But it just shows the power of just one person with a phone and a camera can do to shut down Scientology recruitment. You don't even need to say anything. You just need to be there comfortably confronting, like they claim to be able to do. Years and decades of training routines, and all they can comfortably face is a burnt out car, not actual people, not people who have questions, questioning the abusive practices about Scientology. Can't face that, can't confront that. No, they might melt. They might melt. All right, now let's look at this. Oh, we got to talk about this. Did you guys know that Cults to Consciousness, they just celebrated 200 episodes? I love that channel so much. I so fangirl. Let's just look at a clip from this episode. You guys got to check this one out.
We have some incredible women with us today. So let me back up.
I love too that their 200th episode is 8 women, 8 cults.
We are celebrating our 200th episode. It is crazy to me that I have done so many interviews. Jonathan's even done a couple. That's not even including the lives. And we went to our audience, you guys, and we're like, hey, do you have any ideas? What would you like to see for our celebratory episode? And many of you said, do a panel with previous guests and talk about their experiences, how they are now. So we have brought together some powerhouse women.
You can check that out on Cults to Consciousness. Again, this was all of these women had been on before, doing a deep dive into their experience and their cult. And I think it's so amazing, and what a milestone to be able to celebrate. So I'm going to link it down below. If you get a chance, check it out. I love so much all that they do over there. I really do. Xenu's alien sand fleas. They're taking fingerprints to help LAPD. Just not actual fingerprints. Tell me a little bit more about that, because I'm not fully tracking there, but tell me more of that. I agree, Cubana Chica. She does amazing work. Truly, they do. I love that. Yeah, Anna, right? Wow. And I think I'm familiar with, I don't know, half of these women, if not more. Yeah, truly. It's so great to see them all together like that. I love it when cults can actually bring people together, not the cult itself, but just the subject and the topic of cults. I mean, look at how many of us got to know each other and have made friends here in our community here on my channel and with each other. All the aloha that you guys show each other, and for survivors of Scientology and other cults. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate you guys so much for being that way and for doing that. Yeah, you're right, Asen. I believe Shalise was in one of the Scientology promo videos they shot back in the day of her acting career. That is true. I think did I ever find it? If anybody has that, I would love to see it. Natalie at lifeafteroccult.com. I would really love to see that. I would. I would. Mia Mo, when are you coming to visit Olu? Would love to meet you. I promise. I have salmiakki ready for you. Oh, Mia, you got to explain that better to me. Olu. Maybe you're not talking to me. Maybe you're talking to someone in the chat. But explain that more and I'll keep an eye. I'll keep an eye out for you. A cute pumpkin clodhopper. You keep missing the daily recap. Well, you're here. You're here now. Get on that replay. And thank you to everybody who's here for the replay as well. Appreciate you all. Annette, thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. I appreciate you. I appreciate that support. We do a weekly members only live stream on Tuesdays at 4 Central. So I hope you join us. If you can't, catch it on the replay. But thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Aloha to Annette. All right, now let's jump topics a little bit and let's get into Leah Remini, who is remembering Mike Rinder, and she's sharing more on her Substack. We're going to take a look at what she just shared, what just came out from Leah Remini. And this is, of course, related to Mike Rinder. She just shared this yesterday. My brother, Mike Rinder, first. For those who have asked, my family and I are safe in LA. Thank you. That was something I was wondering too. So I'm glad that she actually mentions that. Nana of 2, thank you for subbing. I know I always say check your subscribe because I'm always getting unsubscribed to channels I watch all the time. This week, I will have more to say about the horrific fires in LA and how people can join me in helping. Also good news, I'm going to be looking out for that. It has been 1 week since my brother by choice, Mike Rinder, has passed away. And in my message last week, I promised I would share more when I had a chance to collect my thoughts. I was still in Scientology when I made the decision to call Mike Rinder to find out the truth about his escape and the lies I'd been told my whole life in Scientology. At the time, I only knew Mike as a high-ranking member of the Sea Organization under David Miscavige. As a civilian Scientologist, I had seen him countless times on TV representing Scientology, and I was accustomed to standing and applauding whenever he appeared on stage at Scientology events. Standing up and applauding when he entered wasn't a choice, but a required gesture of respect for senior executives like Mike Rinder. An absurd gesture, knowing now what I know. It was only after I left Scientology that standing up and applauding was required of all civilian Scientologists. All while Mike Rinder and a handful of top Scientology executives were being held captive at Scientology's international base in Riverside County, California, where they were subjected to extreme physical and emotional abuse daily. The prison they were held in was known as The Hole. And by the way, when we talk and chat with Jackson later on today, Gary Jackson Moorhead, I'm sure if you have questions about The Hole and what went on, he might be a good person to ask those questions of. He may have some information that he can add and to share some context with that as well. It wasn't until years later that I came to understand the depth of the pain and abuse Mike endured as a child, born into a life of Scientology, and later at the hands of David Miscavige under his direction. I had no idea that Mike was often subjected to brutal mental and physical abuse mere hours before being ordered out of The Hole. The Hole, for those who don't know, is where Scientology leader David Miscavige and these double wide trailers put all of these Scientology senior executives. They couldn't leave. Bars were put on the windows. A guard was put outside. They were mentally and physically abused. It's a horrific scene. He would be instructed to shower, put on his Sea Organization uniform, and stand before the public as the familiar face delivering the fiction, the falsehoods written by Miscavige about himself. Mike stood there not as the man he truly was, but as a tool of a cruel system, all while quietly enduring unimaginable suffering. Mike did what he did good and bad, because he was raised in a system that made him and others believe he was doing the greatest good for mankind. He accepted the abuse because at a very young age, like all Scientologists, and especially Sea Organization members, he was taught that the abuse he suffered was his own doing. Mike's mother, father, brother, and older children all abandoned Mike for the cult. Mike rarely spoke of his pain. But when I asked him why he still lived in Florida, he said he had hoped his older children, Taryn and Benjamin, would find their way out, and Mike wanted to be close in case they ever escaped. Mike was about family, equality, not taught to Mike by example. The last flowers Mike sent to me in December 2024, thanking me for my visit, read, "Family is everything. And although I wasn't blood, I was lucky enough to be considered by Micah's family. Looking back, I feel such sorrow that the times I stood for Mike Rinder were only because I had to. Now, knowing what he endured, it feels like the smallest, most inadequate gesture of respect for a man who deserved that respect and so much more. In 2013, I didn't yet know how Mike had escaped his abusers and what he and others had endured. I knew almost nothing about him beyond what Scientology had told me. But even that limited knowledge made the act of calling him terrifying. I knew I was breaking Scientology law, committing a high crime by speaking to someone they labeled an enemy. At that time, I wasn't even publicly out of Scientology, another high crime. And Mike Rinder was considered David Miscavige's enemy number one. That is a real thing, you guys. When you're in Scientology, even when you're leaving, you want to leave, you just left, to reach out to somebody who is, public enemy number one for Scientology, a former member, someone who left, but somebody like Mike Rinder, other people high up in the organization, it is nerve-wracking that way. It's like you just, you're so indoctrinated to believe that you can't do that. It's such an act of rebellion to do it. And then eventually you realize Scientology has no actual power. I knew I was breaking. Okay, we did that part. But for all the fear, the indoctrination, the years of being trained to hate and destroy those who left Scientology, it all dissolved the moment Mike answered the phone. The first words he ever said to me were, "Hello, sweetheart. How are you holding up?" In that instant, my armor shattered and I burst into tears. I allowed myself to be vulnerable in a way I never had before and have rarely been since. But with Mike, I felt safe. I have never felt safer than when I was by Mike's side. I suspect I never will again. Mike listened to me for hours. He answered every question I had about the quote church I had been raised in, confirmed the lies I had been told, and embraced me wholeheartedly. He gave me clarity, but more than that, he showed me compassion, something I hadn't even realized I was so desperate for. What struck me most was that this compassion, this humanity, was so innately a part of Mike. It wasn't taught to him by Scientology or his parents, nor was it shown to him in his life of abuse within Scientology. It was simply Mike, the person Scientology couldn't destroy. When Mike escaped Scientology, he said he only left with a shirt on his back. But what Mike took with him was the man he always was, a man of enormous strength, dignity, compassion, and love. He was a man of honor and an unwavering sense of duty. It was this deep well of goodness and strength that Mike allowed not only to escape a lifetime of unimaginable abuse, but to dedicate himself to helping others from the moment he left. Day in, day out, Mike gave of himself in ways that defy words. He used his own pain to bring healing to others, to shine a light on the darkness he had endured, and to fight for those who didn't feel strong enough to use their voice. He was and is the epitome of strength. Those phone calls marked the beginning of my journey to freedom. And it was Mike Rinder's kindness that gave me the strength to take the first steps out of Scientology. There were many calls that Mike took from me. He was patient, he was kind, and he never told me I had to leave Scientology. This is the interesting thing about this, you guys. This whole a lot of this happened before she actually left Scientology. I sat and watched as Mike bravely exposed Scientology, all the while he and his family were viciously stalked and harassed by Scientology, all for speaking the truth. And even after I left, I told Mike I felt weak for doing nothing with my voice. which he and others had already been using for years. And he told me not to worry about doing anything, but to care for myself and my family. He didn't judge me for not immediately speaking out or for not joining him. There has been no one who suffered more than Mike Rinder, both in and out of Scientology. And yet Mike continued to do the work despite it all. He continued to help those who left Scientology, even those who stabbed him in the back. To former Scientologists who hurt Mike, spoke out against him with lies and launched campaigns against him, he expected that from Scientology and Scientologists, but not from you. You broke his heart, and for you now to feign tears while posting tributes for Mike's and his family, I say this: go and F yourselves. I will never forgive you for what you did to Mike and his family. To my dying day, I will tell you all to go F yourselves. I will not speak your names. You do not deserve it. But know what I think of you and will forever think of you. I'm sorry to say to the X community that there is no one left who was a high senior ranking C organization member who knows more about David Miscavige and the inner workings of Scientology than Mike Rinder. Some of you worked very hard to take him down. What you have done is simply try to make names for yourselves, make money for yourselves, while Mike was simply doing the work morning, noon, and night. He didn't do it for money or fame or for clicks. He just did it because he felt a deep need to right the wrongs, and he was responsible for, and right the wrongs he was not responsible for. Now, I know people are going to have feelings about this. This is Leah Remini's thoughts. This is her point of view. This is how she feels. You guys can comment on it and stuff, and we can get to that. You caused immense pain for this man and his family. If you ever want to show an ounce of remorse, you will publicly apologize to Christy and Mike's family with as much feeling as you so callously attacked Mike. For me, you can do nothing to be right by me, but Mike's wife and family deserve your apologies. If not for Mike, your stories would have fallen on deaf ears. Christy, I watched you dote on your love, Mike, refusing to leave his side. I was honored to witness your love. You are a beacon of strength for Mike, your boys, and it's evident why Mike loved you so much. Claire Headley, you're heaven sent. You traveled to and from your home in Florida to do whatever was needed. You flew to Los Angeles to fetch me so I wouldn't have to travel alone to see Mike. You did this on your 50th birthday. It was only fitting that in the end, it was Christy, you, and me with Mike. Amy Scobie, the sweetest sister wife in our circle. You and Matt can never be thanked enough for what you've done and continue to do. This is no one we could have left There is no one we could have left Christy and her boys with other than you and Matt. Christy, thank you for allowing me to be with you and Claire in Mike's final hours. Although it was the hardest experience of my life, I'm honored that you had me there to hold Mike's hand one last time to say goodbye. In Mike's final post, he shared that his biggest regret was not getting to see his son, Jack, grow into adulthood. He had hoped to live until Jack was 20 and to see the end of Scientology abuses, especially disconnection, which affects so many families, including his own. I hope we honor Mike by doing things we can to carry the torch he so bravely lit. Mike's final wish was for people to consider donating to Jack's college fund, something he didn't get to do. If you'd like to join me in contributing to Jack's fund, you can donate here. Let's not forget what Mike has done. There was not a call Mike didn't take, an email he didn't respond to for someone who needed him. There wasn't a lawsuit he wasn't willing to help with, a case he wasn't willing to assist on for free. Mike met with every agency he could, turned over every document several times. Mike would meet and talk to anyone if he thought it would help end the criminal organization that's Scientology. And when I asked Mike to do the aftermath with me, all I told him was that it was to be a documentary series to expose Scientology. I said I didn't know what it would be or how much he would be paid. He cut me off and said, if it helps, I'm in. I don't care about the money. And the same was true for our podcast. Mike didn't care about titles or money. He cared about the work despite the cost to his own well-being and peace. I was lucky enough to work side by side with Mike for 3 seasons of Scientology in the aftermath. Without Mike, this important documentary series would not have been made. I couldn't have done it without him. There were many days when I wanted to walk away, and Mike reminded me of the importance of the work we were doing daily. I was also lucky enough to do our podcast together. And every episode opened with Mike's beautiful smile with his hello, Lily, that he will never say those words again to me is an unbearable thought. Mike allowed me to do the most important work of my life. He was my strength when I very often had none. Mike was my friend, my trusted confidant, my best friend, my partner in crime, and a man who showed me what true courage and humanity look like. His loss is immeasurable. Yet his legacy of truth, compassion, and unwavering resilience will live on in the countless lives he touched, including mine, my family's, and my daughter, Sophia's. I will forever be grateful to have known him. I will miss him deeply for the rest of my life. Mike is truly one of a kind. The universe just got it wrong, taking him from us. My heart will be forever broken. I will miss you until my dying day. Rest now, my brave Mikey. You deserve peace. Love you always, your Lily. So I'm going to link that down below. And that is from her Substack. Let's see. Did somebody throw up a link for Steph there? Nancy or one of the mods? You might, if you have an iPhone, Steph, there's a link in the description of this video that should work. You can check there. But if the mods haven't already, I'm sure somebody will throw that up there. Let's see. Because I don't have two monitors, I wasn't watching the chat when I was going through and reading that. Yep, Julia, Mike Rinder is the reason a lot of Scientologists are out. There's a lot. It's a lot there. Jolie, Scientology is going to use his death as an example for a long time since he died of cancer. What do they say to themselves when their fellow active Scientologists die from it? How does that compute? That is such a fantastic question. It doesn't. It just doesn't. It's people don't talk in Scientology. In my experience, when I was there, you didn't get into how somebody died, just that they passed. And usually, often the belief is that they just didn't do their next step soon enough. People who die from cancer or other illnesses in Scientology, if they're Scientologists, they just didn't do enough of Scientology's bridge to total freedom, which is BS, but that is a lot of the viewpoint there. Over Nubin, this is where she loses me. So Leah Remini and what I just read, there are others who suffered equally or more. This is not a good look. I would agree with that. Asen says, yes, he did a lot of good, except you dared to question him. Yep. Ruth, she's welcome to her point of view. It's no more important than anybody else's. No, gets more attention because of her celebrity status. Tracy says, what about the victims looking for answers from Mike and he did nothing? Arkansas Flamingo, two things can be true at the same time. Mike Rinder did some great things. He also did some rotten things to people like Miriam. Yes. Ingrid says, wow, I guess I would feel the same if this was my friend. Yeah, exactly. Her experience and relationship with Mike Rinder was different from many. And that's the same with anybody. You have a different experience. So of course you would have something different to say, or you would be seeing it differently because your experience was different. Somebody who has a different experience with an individual will see it completely differently. And that is just how it is, because we see things from where we stand, from our point of view and our backgrounds and all of that. Does it matter to you? Not to me. All Scientology is doing is handing out volunteer minister shirts to anyone who wants to volunteer. They are not necessarily cult of Scientology. That is true. They will do that too. A time to change. We all have a journey. We live and learn. It's what we do with what we have. And we will never be perfect as humans. We are in progress always. That is very true. Stasia says it's hard to believe everything she's saying because she only sees it from her point of view, which is clouded. Not clouded from her point of view, but yeah, it all depends on your experience, right? How you experienced Mike Rinder, or for people who knew him, knew people around him. Yeah, time to change. I mean, if it was me in that boat, I would probably be ride or die too. Yes. And when you leave Scientology, I mean, especially publicly, the way Leah Remini did, having somebody to be that stable person for you and to fill in the truth of all the lies that you've been being told. I mean, that is a bonding experience. Mia Mo, Natalie, did you know Mike Rinder? Sorry, my previous question was for Arkansas Flamingo. Oh, Oulu is a city in Finland. Got it. I thought I might have jumped into something, but thanks for clarifying. I knew Mike Rinder. I never knew Mike Rinder in the Sea Organization. When I left Scientology in 2010, for the next 2 or 3 years, there were like these get-togethers with former Sea Org members and former Scientologists, and that's where I met Mike. I met him. Actually, you know what? The first time I met Mike Rinder was when I went to Florida with my daughter Shelby. Mike had sent up this interview with the Tampa Bay Times where Shelby and I shared our story in the issue of coercing abortions in the Sea Organization, because that had happened. Well, they tried to do that to me, but I refused. That is the first time I met him. And then I saw him a couple more times, like I think one in Texas and then here in Minnesota. Him and Christy came. I can't remember if I think they might have spent a night at my house. We definitely had dinner. And they were followed around by private investigators the whole time they were here. So I got to meet him then, but that was it. After 2013, 14, maybe. I don't think I ever saw him again after that. I do believe I saw him in Florida shortly before him and Christy got married. So it's been, let's see, if I left Scientology 15 years ago, it's probably been 12 years or so since I had seen him. But that's when I met him. I didn't know him very well. But I do appreciate that he set up that interview too, with the Tampa Bay Times, because that was a big step in leaving Scientology for my daughter and I and our family in doing that and feeling like we could, just start taking back our own power and control and our own narrative. Speaking out against Scientology publicly is a huge deal for anybody who's left Scientology. It's not for everybody. Not everybody should, depending on your situation. And there's nothing wrong either with not doing it publicly. In my point of view, you're leaving a cult, a high control group. You need to focus on you. Take care of you, take care of your family, take care of your people, do what you need to do. Sometimes for people, it helps them to speak out right away. It did for me. But I'm kind of a different bird, but sometimes it does for other people too. A lot of the people who I talk to, who I interview on my channel, who are former Scientologists, we talk beforehand. And I've had multiple conversations with former Scientologists who've wanted to share their stories. And I encourage them to just kind of put a pin in it, because it seemed, I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not equipped to really judge if somebody is ready to do something like that or not, but I give them information of what that could look like, and just make sure they understand what they're doing. It's incredibly freeing to publicly talk about Scientology when you've never been allowed to. But again, it's not for everyone, and I respect everybody's choice to not be vocal about their experience in Scientology or any cult until they're ready, if they ever are, too. Let's see. 45 in San Diego, Chrissy. I love it. She's catching up on the replay. That's fantastic. Stasia says she's standing up for her ride or die. Negativity be damned. Yeah, and she has a right to do that. That is her ride or die. This is how she feels. This is what she thinks. And she's sharing that. And I think it's always good to kind of look at something from multiple different viewpoints, right? Y'all have you make your own conclusions. You decide for yourself on things. It's just more information. This is how Leah Remini sees it. It's interesting because you don't agree with it all or not. I still think it's important information. It gives some backstory as well. And hopefully it does encourage people to continue to come forward about Scientology, especially when it comes to exposing the crimes and the human rights abuses that happen within Scientology. Let's see. Sharona says, I can't be mad at Leah for her point of view because she views Mike Rinder as her savior from Scientology and her life after leaving. She got some things very right and a few things wrong from my point of view. That's a great way of putting that. Julia says, I love what Mike Rinder has done for this community. We should stand up and lift each other up. I completely agree with that. We can either make a choice to spend our time just tearing other people down and going over. And I'm not saying don't, right? There are things that will continue to be discussed about Mike Rinder knew or didn't knew or shared or didn't share. That will always be the case. But I think we can have these conversations in ways that aren't where it's about an individual. You know what I'm saying? You're not like, it's the topic. It's talking about, how does this relate to Scientology? You know, here on my channel, my what drives me to be here every day is to expose Scientology, is to shed a light on what Scientology is doing, their own demise. No one's ending Scientology faster than Scientology. They are their own worst enemies. And now there's so many people shedding a light on it. People who are live streaming, protesting, people who are calling into different government entities, raising the alarm about Scientology. All of this helps. Everything everybody does to raise awareness, including being here and liking and watching videos and sharing them, that helps. It all contributes. It's all valid. We don't need to control how people do things, what they do, what they don't do, right? Focus on yourself, what you're doing, support who you want to support. And that's what Leah Remini's doing too in sharing this. I thought it was interesting that I didn't realize fully, I think, that she wasn't fully out of Scientology when she started talking to him. I think that's interesting because that's some dangerous territory when you are a Scientologist. Rain Virus, aloha to you as well. I just saw that. Thank you. Carla's loving wife. For those who have left the cult, if you realize you needed therapy, when did you feel you needed help? Were there therapists available? I can answer that for me, and hopefully other people will chime in for them who are former Scientologists. Did I realize I needed therapy? Oh yeah. While I was in Scientology, I realized I needed therapy. So for me personally, that's when I felt that. And then leaving Scientology is incredibly complicated, you guys, incredibly. And if you spend any time in the Sea organization, it becomes complicated even more. You're layering on abuse, a messed up way of thinking, robbing people of developing skills, emotional regulation, things they should have learned in childhood or as young adults, but were deprived of that because of being in the Sea organization, because of Scientology. And what that means is it's going to be messy. It's always going to be messy because people are at different points in their healings. And though whatever trauma an individual experiences, whether it's Scientology or what or otherwise, that is not a license to then show up and try to, show up in a way that's actually harmful to people still in present time. There's ways of talking about it and sharing it. And it's interesting to me because those same lack of skills are what end up backfiring, even when you're trying to do good work like exposing Scientology. My 2 cents on it is there just needs to be, if people want to be here to expose Scientology, then expose Scientology. That's something that is super important to me in what I do. I love being here with you guys. I love sharing people's survival stories. I want to get into other cults as well. But mostly for me, it's about shining a light on the abuses of Scientology so people can learn about cults and go, wow, you know what? I do have an understanding of cults and I'm recognizing that red flag over there. I'm recognizing that that's happening and I'm not going to fall for it. There's this side effect that ends up happening in being here. And in the same way that I learned so much from all of you about how you see my experience in Scientology, it helps me to process it. It's my hope is a lot of what I share with you guys helps you with your own struggles. Might not be Scientology and a cult, but isn't it similar? We're all kind of having this human experience where there are things and upsets that happen, whether you were in Scientology or not. But I think what we can do, the only thing we can do is control how we decide to show up as individuals. I can only control me. If y'all are looking to me to control anybody else, keep looking. I'm not your girl. Because you know what I learned in my therapy, my growth in leaving Scientology? I'm not responsible for controlling anybody else. That's an idea, that's a concept, that's a thought that they forced on us in Scientology, especially the Sea Org, that it was our job, that it was our duty to put ethics in on the planet. It's not our job. It's not our duty. We can only each choose how we're going to show up each day and the kind of community that we want to create and the kind of people that we want to be. I spent 35 years in a human trafficking cult, not being myself. And I don't want to be that person anymore. I've learned and developed skills and feelings and the ability to regulate my emotions. Not always, but I'm getting better at it. And I want to use those skills as I move forward and even in exposing Scientology and maintaining my focus. So if you're here for that, fabulous. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and you're going to see a lot of me. And if you're not, that's okay too. I still hope you stick around. That's what I got for you guys today. I will see you soon, 1 o'clock Central Time. I'm going to be doing that interview with Gary Jackson Moorhead. I'm so excited about it. Please bring your questions. And thank you to all of you who continue to show up, who continue to spread aloha, who continue to welcome each other in the chat and be kind. Because we're dealing with a human trafficking cult and it's messy and it's ugly enough as it is. We don't need to add to it. But what we can do is bring understanding and compassion as much as we can. And even if we don't agree with a point of view, we can still hear it and maybe even discuss it and look at it from different ways, because sometimes we learn things that way. But if we walk through this thinking we already know everything and the only viewpoint to have is our own, then we don't learn. And honestly, that's no different from Scientology. Here's one viewpoint. Here's what you have to think. Here's what I'm demanding of you to do. No. At least for me, that's how I see it, y'all. Thank you guys. I hope y'all get out and have an amazing cult-free day.